Okay, I apologize that there's a part 2. I'm recording this video on my tablet and it goes to sleep sometimes, and when it goes to sleep it cuts off the recording. But I had gotten so far that I hope you'll just excuse the fact that there's this little add-on video. What I was trying to tell you at the very end, I was describing the scene of Slater picking up Skinner's chocolate in his study, right? And so that is where, if you remember that scene at the very end, she says, why did I pick this up? Like, she's questioning her motivation for picking up the chocolate and envision eating it, right? And she says, was I conditioned to do this, or did I act out of my own free will? And that's the question she leaves you with at the very end of the book. It might be helpful at this point to reread that. It is on page 30 when she says, you see this, says Julie, and she points to a small end table next to a reclining chair. Here's the piece of chocolate my father was eating just before he went to the hospital. And when I look down, it is there, a piece of dark chocolate on a china plate with a real BF bite mark fossilized in the chunk. I want to save this chocolate forever, she says. I ask, how old is it? And she says, it's over a decade old and still in good shape. I stared at her. A little later, after she leaves the room, I lift the gnawed square and study it closely. I see precisely where his mouth met the candy's edge, and then, pulled by some string I cannot see, a cue I never knew was coming, or perhaps a streak of utter freedom, for I do not know the answer after all this. I do not know the answer. I raise my arm, or my arm is raised, and I envision putting the chocolate in my mouth. It would be old chocolate, dusty chocolate, and on my teeth the taste of something very strange and slightly sweet. Now, what a great ending, right? Because what she's telling you is she doesn't know. Is it free will, or do we just behave in our environment because we've been conditioned to do that, right? That's such a hard question, and it makes sense that her answer is, I don't know, right? And so that's what you're supposed to learn here, is that who are we? Are we truly the authors of our own lives? Well, I don't know. Slater doesn't know. There's not a clear opinion here. And so you can see the final thesis. Slater also challenges Skinner's theory that man has no free will, that all behavior is a conditioned response to our environment, by introducing Kagan, who dies under his desk, and by questioning her own motivation for wanting to eat Skinner's chocolate at the end of the book. Is it a conditioned response or her own free will that's causing the desire? She doesn't provide an answer, leaving the reader unsure about human behavior as free will versus human behavior as conditioned response to our environment. You have to have both, right? One answers, who is Skinner? What's his legacy? Which, remember, was the guiding question of the whole chapter. And the second thesis addresses her overall questions for the book. Who are we? Are we the authors of our own lives? All right, I hope that's not confusing, but I understand that you're a little blown away by the fact that there were two thesis statements, but I hope you understand why. I can't promise that that will always be the case for the different chapters, but we'll take them one by one and see what happens, okay? All right, now, your QQMS assignment for this chapter. Let's go over what you have to turn in. You should have 1 to 3 questions and explanations, 1 to 3 quotes and explanations based on the grade you want, right? You should have your MS, your major support, listed, like mine where I helped you, your own work where I left off, your corrections, additions, and clarifications from my outline, your own thesis attempt, your corrections from my thesis. Please also include a reflection. How did this go? How are you feeling about the QQMS assignment, and what additional support do you need? When you're finished, upload everything to the assignment folder, and congratulations, you're done with Chapter 1.